Mm. Or to talk. Yes. Thank you for it's. You've been a gift to come. Just planning to speak to you about my mother has really brought her more into my life and helped me love her even more. So I dedicate this to her, Evelyn Korn, and to all mothers, Mother Earth, Mother Universe, for birthing us and nurturing us. And I can feel my mother here with us. Probably like my mom, probably doing yoga in the corner while the rest of us are sitting. Hi, Mom. My first memory of you, Mom. I'm 3 years old. I walk into the kitchen in the morning and I hear pow, pow, pow. Very loud noises for a 3-year-old. And I say, Ma, what are you doing? She says, the people upstairs made a lot of noise at a party last night, so I'm getting them up in the morning. Pow! 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 If two students from my class have heard this story, I used to tell this to my students when I started teaching 45 years ago, and I thought I would get sympathy for such a strong, tough mother. And now when I tell it, many of my students say, right on, good going, Evelyn. Pow, pow, pow. One of the stories you tell me, Mom, is you're 16 years old. Your family, which moved a lot, moved back to your old neighborhood, and you say, I went to school, and the kids in school who knew our family when we were young, they said, you're a bastard, Evelyn. Your parents aren't your parents. And I go home and I ask my mother, why are the kids saying that? And my mother says, honey, we didn't want to tell you you were adopted. And I think from then, Mom, you didn't trust things. You always had to look beneath things to find out what was true, which in some ways is not a bad gift to a son who would become a philosopher. You met Dad at an ice skating rink, Radio City ice skating rink, I believe, in Manhattan. And it was the old fall on the ice trick. Ice skating, seeing a handsome young man. Here they are, when they were just married. So my mother falls on the ice right before this fireman, and he picks her up, starts to talk with her, and says, I'd like to go out with you. What would you like to do? And you, Ma, say, I loved to bike ride. So my father rented a bike and learned how to bike that week. And that's how I got born. Now you tell me these things, Mom. You tell me we go on our honeymoon to Niagara Falls. And Oscar Wilde said, the only thing more disappointing than Niagara Falls is the honeymoons that people spent there. And my mother tells me these things, and your dad really disappointed me. My mother always wanted the truth. You did, Mom. You always wanted the truth. You told me, Mom, though, this was very lovely, that the happiest years of my life, Michael, were when I was pregnant with you and the first son. Well, let me see if I can feel that. Just coming into the world, and my mother is the happiest she's ever been. And then you say, but when you were born, we didn't want to spoil you. Like I was spoiled by my parents when I was young. And the psychologist of the time, Michael, was Dr. Watson. And I had checked Dr. Watson out, thanks to YouTube. Dr. Watson was proud. He had a video of a little girl who was so happy. A little girl, 2 years old, so happy a kitten came. And then he played a loud gong. And he just showed to everybody, if he kept doing that when the kitten came. When the kitten came to the little girl, even though the loud gong didn't follow, she was scared. And he was proud of that. And that was the child psychologist of the time. Alas, I was born before Dr. Spock changed all these things. So I'm born, and my parents, you, Mom, didn't want to spoil me and decided to feed me at the end of every 4th hour. No matter how much I cried. And at the end of every 4th hour, it was time for my food. And I'm so grateful to my father for telling me this before he died. He said, Michael, I think I know why you're so stubborn. This is what we did to you. I held your hands out at the end of the 4th hour because you didn't want to eat then. You didn't want to eat on our schedule. But we didn't want you to die. We didn't want to be a bad parents and not feed you according to schedule. So my dad holds my arms out, and you, Mom, I guess put a formula nipple in my mouth, and I, against my will, I can't help sipping, and I at least survive. This might have been their way to early religious training, because guess what? When I grew up, I was very attracted to someone who looked like this, and the story was that he got off the cross and lived happily ever after, and I wanted that. Early religious training. Eating was always a challenge in our family. We had what I called the tragedy of the open mouth. In those days, my father actually, you told me, Mom, your dad won't even let me work. I love selling baby clothes. So my mother, her big work of the day was to make a dinner, and she'd make it. And we'd sit down, and before my mother came to the to the dinner table, my dad, who was very hungry and empty, would start eating bread. And you, Mom, came in. Good for you, Mom, in some way. You said, Charlie, I made this whole dinner. You don't even wait to sit down so we can eat properly? And my father said, close your mouth, Evelyn. And my mother, you were brave. And you said, you can't tell me what to say. And my father says, if you open your mouth once more, I'm going to throw this coffee cup with coffee. You've got to keep some peace at the dinner table. And you, Mom, were brave. And you said, ah! My dad threw it. I mean, I don't think he attempted to hit her. And my mother, Mom, you wanted to hit him. And my brother pushes you into the bathroom and locks the door. So we call this the tragedy of the open mouth, because neither of them could keep their mouth shut. Now you could look at this as a tragedy, or you could look at it as, just like this experience, what do I do with my desire to eat when it is so fraught with pain and suffering? And I think, Mom, not only did you teach me, wow, there's hope. Any cross we're on, we can come off of it if I study religion. But also, what about my primal desire to eat? The basic desire. And I think that in some ways I had to learn, in order to enjoy eating, which I do now, Buddhist truth. There's a famous story of a Buddhist monk being chased by a tiger, which felt like my family, climbing a vine to escape, and above there's another tiger, my family. So the monk is swinging on the vine, and there's a strawberry bush right nearby, and he plucks the strawberry, takes a bite, and says, how sweet it is. And I think this training with food teaches me, in my better moments, to enjoy my desires, regardless of what's going on, to enjoy the journey, which you people here are helping me enjoy the journey of remembering my mother. This is, by the way, a happy story. You might have missed it. This is aims to have this is called, It's Never Too Late to Have a Loving Mother. So you might have been blessed with one, but some of us who are wanting one, this hopefully will be helpful. So there'll be more challenging stories, but the advantage of you being here is to look at the challenging stories and see what can grow out of them. Though I had a new friend just tell me, I don't want any more mixed blessings. But this is a story of mixed blessings that I think has a very happy ending. But you'll tell me if I'm making it too sweet. So my mother, somewhat trapped women as they were in the 50s and late 40s. I had a younger brother, and he had one trait that I really found very hard. Some people have, annoying traits. He existed. I found that really, oppressive, really. I was the first child. People, whatever they did with me, I had the attention. So I would, in order to politely express my disapproval of his existence, would sit on his hands and spit into his face because I was bigger. It was my way of helping him become a psychiatrist, which he is now, and a very successful one. He hasn't quite thanked me for that, but we're young. And so my mother would say when Dad comes home, Michael's been spitting at Lenny again. And I run into the bedroom, and my father, to teach me it's not right to pick on people smaller than you, came in, and we had an unspoken agreement that he would only spank me on my backside. Never said it, but those were the rules. So I was smaller and I could squirm around and tush. And eventually he's a fireman, he could turn me over and he hit me. And brave like you, Mom, you think I would be quiet? Nay, laddies and lassies, nay. I say to my dad, you bastard. And to teach me respect, he comes back and hits me a little bit after, our squirming game. It takes 15, 20 minutes. We had a lot of contact, like love, wrestling with my dad. I didn't quite look at it that way. But after about 15 minutes, he hits me a little bit less hard. And he's leaving. Would I be quiet? No! A little bit quieter. You bastard. And then we do it again. This is like a dance. We might give it a name, a sacred dance. And the third time it's a little bit less, and none of it is really harmful, right? It's more humiliating. And in the spirit of you, Mom, even after he leaves, walking the third time, I say, you bastard. And I know, and he knows, that he's pretending not to hear me. And in the spirit of you, Mom, I stop. Good for me. About 2.5 days later, my mother comes into the room and says, you say this to me, Mom. Mikey, you're really hurting your father's feelings. Go tell him you're sorry, you're hurting his feelings. Someone is giving me instructions, they'll have to be louder. They're giving me instructions. I didn't hear them. So my mother says, you're hurting your father's feelings. Tell him you're sorry. I guess maybe your intentions were for family harmony. And I take this to heart, and I go sit next to my father, and I say, Dad, sorry, I'm hurting your feelings. Start talking to him again. And this, Mom, is very confusing. It might have been the last time for a very long time that I had compassion for anybody, because it was so twisted. You got Dad to hit me and then got me to apologize to Dad, which I did out of feeling for him. So compassion really got twisted. So I had to fake it. I really care for you. I love you. and did it for many, many years, trying to be compassionate. I have a dear friend of mine in the audience who just quoted me a line from William Blake. If a fool persists in his folly, he will become wise. So eventually, many, many years trying to be compassionate, it got through. And you helped me, Mom. We'll go over how you helped me just begin to really feel heart-to-heart compassion for people. I didn't have it to begin with after that experience. Promise, this is going to be, it's never too late to have a happy mother, a loving mother, and even a happy one. But, I mean, I know the people in this audience like what's true. So here it comes. I'm 15. I'm going to the bathroom. A safe place in the house, I think, apart from the fighting. But you, Mom, you didn't respect walls. After you learned that all the rules of the world were, when you discovered that people aren't what they seem to be, you didn't follow any of them. So my mother comes into the bathroom. Mom, you come in, and you don't remember this when I told you this later. And she says to me, I wish you amazed me the way your father does. Not. I once told this to a friend of mine who was abused as a child, and she said, that's enough. You don't even need the other stories. That's enough for some kind of psychological abuse. I had a dream when I went away to the University of Chicago for 7 years, good old unconscious, of going through subways and tunnels. And finally, at the end of those 7 years of dreaming, I see you, Mom, come out of the tunnel, and you seem to want what you wanted in the bathroom. I wish your father amazed me the way you did. My dream was working this out to claim my own body as mine. And the next night in the dream, I and my brother had dyed hair. And you asked, Mikey, you see those kids? You know why they have dyed hair? And I say, you're trying to make them into somebody they're not. And oof, I feel a stabbing down in my gut. And then this tunnel dreams ended forever. So my good old unconscious is working through these things. And now the good part. Thank you for bearing with us. Promise you, it's never too late to have a happy mother or a loving mother. A loving mother. This is how it happened. A recipe, at least it worked for me. When I started having the courage to date women in my 30s, you understand that, right? These frightening beings. Mom, I once dated a woman in my late 20s, and we went for a drive for an hour and came back, and in front of her she screamed I was spending too much gas money. So it was hard for you when I started to date women, and I eventually, brilliant psychologist wannabe, decide I'm not going to talk to you, and I tell you this, Mom, I call you on the phone, I'm not going to talk to you for 4 years, and then I will again. I was a student, so freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And at the end of the 4th year, my father calls and says, your mom just had a heart attack. I want you to talk to her. So I gave up the rule and called, and getting more compassionate after all these years, maybe, or wanting to be a good son. I'm not sure the difference between the two. Probably more wanting to be compassionate still. I invite my mother to come visit me in Cambridge. And you come, Mom. I haven't talked to you for 4 years. I rent a place for you with your money, but I rent a place for you at Mopsy Strange Kennedy, a colleague at the Cambridge Center for Adult Education. You come in, we haven't seen each other for 4 years. You look in the refrigerator and you say, there's no food in the refrigerator. What kind of host are you? And I had learned better to stand my ground. And I say, Mom, from now on, I want us to talk more kindly to each other. And my pow mother says, you're Hitler! You're trying to control how I talk? You're a Hitler! That's what you are, a controlling Hitler! And I stand my ground, student of nonviolent communication, and say, Mother, Mom, Evelyn, I think we should talk more kindly to each other. I'll see you tomorrow morning. I'll leave food at the door. I go home, my place in Cambridgeport, and I come back the following morning, and Mom, you know now that I could easily not talk to you again for 4 years or more. And you say to me, Michael, I think you're right, and we should try to talk to each other kindly. And you never yell at me again. Ever. That voice, that pow voice changes. You didn't want to lose your son. Your other sons were grateful to me, and they said, if you're not nice to us, we'll do what Michael did. And you were so grateful. I mean, this was my dad's job, really. But you were so grateful, Mom. I sometimes see you when we're in the car, and you're literally biting your tongue. You don't want to. And so you really start to care for me. And I had been dating a woman since you've been away from me for many years, Robbie, Oifer Khan. And I made 2 mistakes when I let you back in my life, just for all of us. I'm not sure you have your own ways of doing it. I mean, we got along beautifully. There was love between us now. I'll tell you more about it soon. But the 2 mistakes, and telling the story now is helping maybe one of them. One is I started talking to you about the women I was with. And I shouldn't have done that. I should have said I still need to keep that private. Because I was dating Robbie, whose parents were multimillionaires. They had bought art like Calder and other famous artists. And really, Robbie's father was a dentist to Danny Glover, Paul Newman. And for you, Mom, in our family, in our marriage to Dad, there's a famous short story by D.H. Lawrence called The Rocking Horse Winner. And Lawrence, just in a few words, his opening lines are, it's just a short story. They get married, and when the love turned to dust, the wife and the children in the family kept hearing from every object that was in the house, even the walls, there must be more money. There must be more money. And the child, maybe like me, would rock on his rocking horse and hear these words, there must be more money. And so you, Mom, just like I eventually learned, it takes me a while, that whatever's going on, you're thinking of money. When I was practicing from my class at college golf, and I swung the club, as practicing my new swing, and I hit my little brother Scott, 10 years younger than me, in the nose, and it bleeds. You don't even want me to call a doctor, and I have to push you in the bedroom, lock the door, take our only phone, and call the doctor because my brother's nose is bleeding. Or I don't know if you remember this, we're shopping at Macy's. I want my younger brother Scott, 10 years younger than I, to be a man. I pick up a pair of Levi's for him. It's only about $7 then. I'm at the checkout counter, I and Scott. I'm helping Scott become even more of a man than me, I hope. He's going to have strong Levi's, because you always bought second-hand clothes for us. And we're at the counter, and the $7 is $1 too much for you. And you grab one of the legs of the Levi's. And you say, we're not buying it. And I grab the other leg, and Levi's are strong. And I'm bigger than you now. And I pull the Levi's to the counter, and the clerk lets me buy the dungarees for my brother. But money was always there. And so when I make the first mistake, Mom, and tell you about my new woman friend, Robbie, and you find out that her parents are multimillionaires, we're sitting on the rooftop, and my neighbor is there. And my mother does what some mothers do. She talks about me in the third person. Bob, do you think Michael should marry Robbie? Bob says, well, they love each other. Sure. The next day, when I'm with Robbie, it comes into my mind, and I'm not too astute yet. Robbie, would you like to marry me? And she does, which actually wasn't good for our relationship. We were always breaking up because I had these challenges with women and then always getting back together. But when you're married and break up, it's not easy to keep doing that. So that was mistake number one, to let you meet and to talk with the women I was with, even though we had a lot of love between us. And the second mistake, it's called around Cambridge and other places, a spiritual bypass. And we have really a loving relationship. You tell me, after you see my apartment, I'm living in old servant quarters, 2 big rooms, and there's no sink in the bathroom. and you say, Michael, I want to buy you a new sink in the bathroom and redo and this is my mother, when money was so hard for her, and I want to give you money to redo the kitchen. $5,000, which, I mean, I'm an adult education teacher. That's a lot of classes at $15 an hour. $5,000 to redo my kitchen. But I'm a guy, I never wanted, at least then, I didn't want to redo my kitchen. You leave and go back to where you're staying in Sarasota. Call me and say, how's the kitchen going? And I say, Mom, I really don't want to redo the kitchen. And you say, Michael, I don't want to control you. You can do whatever you want with the $5,000. So a lot of money for me then. You, even when the apartment that I'm in is being sold as condos to the people who own the building, just for $6,000 we got the building very cheaply. I didn't have $6,000. And you said, I'm going to ask Dad and we'll both give you the $6,000 and you can buy this apartment. You come the next year and you say, there's no bathroom, there's no sink in the bathroom. This time, Michael, only if you want to, we'll go shopping together. And so we go to Somerville Lumber, which sold things then, and it was like ecstasy. We were happy picking out a new stove, a new sink, and we had plans to redo my kitchen and really make it much bigger. We got rid of a closet. It enabled me to have a place that I can invite a dance teacher to. It changed my life. So these gifts were, I really can't tell you when I was that poor how much these gifts mean to me. And it gets even better. But I still make the mistake of a spiritual bypass. I'm so grateful. I do not know, my friends knew, how angry I was. My beloved first wife, as I like to call her, said, it's hard to trust you. You've got wolf eyes. Which I don't now. It's funny, you can change even your eyes after, many years. So I don't know how angry I am at you. I really don't. It's too hard for me. But I don't even know I'm doing this. So those were the two mistakes I made. But we're still having what looks like a very loving relationship now. And you're very, very kind to me, and you're changing my life. We even go, those who know me might believe this, those who don't might not believe this. We even go to something called Sexual Abuse Anonymous together. Maybe we should be in the Guinness Book of World Records, maybe. I mean, mother and son go to Sexual Abuse Anonymous together, and I tell, for some reason, they pick me to tell the 20-minute story. Most people have 3 minutes. Someone even walks out, why did you pick a newcomer? But I like to perform in front of people rather than to really interact with them. It's easier this way. And I tell some of these stories with my mother there. And it's a bit freeing to say these things about the bathrooms, for example. And you walking in and saying, I wish your father amazes me the way you do. I tell these stories, and the people are there. They're used to sexual abuse, and they listen to me as you do, with your kind and rapt attention. And we walk out onto Park Street, and you say, Michael, did that really happen? I say, yes. And we don't ever talk about that again. But it was good to share it. But I still don't know how angry I am also, what to do with that. As the love grows, maybe there's more chance to express the anger. Even now, Mom, you're hearing it with these people. I feel, thanks to you, I feel her here. I can feel the love, and now I can feel that I don't need the spiritual bypass. And I don't need to, I can let you know now, unless you'll interfere with my dreams, even about my dear women friends. One of my last memories of my mother is she stays in Sarasota at a assisted living. And now we're spending $3,000 a month in Yuma, because Dad put his money in the stock market, and he had much more than we thought when he died. And so $3,000 is actually very doable. And you, Mom, were what I affectionately call a fascist food fetish person. My psychiatrist brother was enjoying donuts in the morning, and you say, actually correctly, that has hydrogenated vegetable oil in it. It's poison. You're putting poison in your veins. And she was actually right. As my dad used to say to her, honey, when you're nagging me and you're wrong, I can handle it. But when you're right, it's hard. My mother would do this while we're eating. So she would eat, you would eat, Mom, only what the white men on the radio said was good to eat. And at the end of your life, you lose taste. However, there's still that drive for saving money. And when you go into assisted living, you've paid for all the room and board. So the food is free as far as you're concerned. And you will start eating all these foods that you told us not to. And it's a delicious food. Cakes, candies, chocolate. You had this really, you were very thin then, but you had this hard belly. So I go and kneel by your bedside just before leaving to go back to Cambridge. It's 5 a.m. And I want to commune with you. Just commune in silence. And I'm sitting there. It's an early dawn. And you open your eyes and you say, you almost missed Michael. You almost, with a big smile on your face, you almost missed Michael. And although the grammar is peculiar, I think she's talking to herself, I can see her true joy and love and appreciation for not missing me. And then, without any more words, I leave for Cambridge. Without any more words, I leave for Cambridge. And your words remain with me, Mom. I almost miss Michael too. Especially if I have all that anger inside still to you. I remember after you die, I have a television show, as people know, and I have my mother on the show, and she's talking about growing old laughing. And I have my friend Joel there, and he says after the show to me, I don't know why I love your mother so much. And then he says, oh, I know why. She's not my mother. Well, in some ways she was, but not quite. And I remember I'm showing the show at the memorial for you after you die, and now it was safe to really take you in. I didn't think I was loving you, but very carefully. And I could really take you in after you died and realized I had almost missed Michael truly loving you. And I still needed at the very, very beginning, after you died, it was safe also to get the anger and hatred out. And I remember my dance teacher would come, and he would encourage me to always express my feelings in movement, not in thought, for an hour, and roll on the floor, and I would feel good at the end of the hour. And the only time Patrick Crowley that I can remember did not help me was after you died, Mom. I told him I was angry and hurt, and he said, hit the pillows with another pillow. And I said, Patrick, this isn't working. This isn't working. He says, use your fist. I said, Patrick, this isn't good enough. And he leaves. And then I don't know why I know these things. I take a pot and put a glass bowl in the pot and get a hammer and pow, pow, pow. And this helps. I tried to capture it in a poem. There's a sentence from the Bible by the prophet Ezekiel. I will cause breath to enter bones. I will cause breath to enter dead bones. And the poem goes, hitting me repeatedly made painful ecstasy. Numb in body and mind, I crack glass when you're gone. Imagine breaking bones, moving us to scream, moan, freeing you to breathe. Me to breathe. Say that one more time, if I may. Yes. I will cause breath to enter dead bones. Hitting me repeatedly made painful ecstasy, numb in mind and body. I break glass when you're gone. Imagine cracking bones, moving us to scream, moan, freeing you to breathe. Me. To breathe. And my dear mom was a self-help junkie. We would sit on the roof, Mom, you remember that? We would do yoga. My mother was a yoga teacher. I still do the poses, remembering you. They help me with my back and other aging ailments. And at the end of most of the times we did the yoga, we would sit and you would teach me this chant. Each day, in every way, we're growing better and better and better and better and better and better and better. And we would say that each day in every way, we're growing better and better and better and better and better. And I imagine you now here, Mom, hearing this with us, would be happy. And I can hear you saying, telling us this, Michael, we're healing together. We're healing together. We're healing together. And I would say, getting out of my anger, but we're free. I'm free. We're both free. We're free. And you would say, we're healing together. We're healing together. We're free. We're free. We're free. Which would be our new version of each day in every way. We're growing better and better and better and better and better. So thank you, Mother. Thank all mothers. Thank Earth Mother, Universe Mother, for giving birth to us. Thank you all for coming. And thank you, Mom, yet again, for our journey together. And like the Buddhist principles you taught me, I think we could both say now we're enjoying the journey, and like the force feeding that you've imprinted in me, we can get off whatever crosses we're on and spring up like Easter bunnies. And you people being here with me. The other story from the force feeding with some food bottle raised above me that I don't want and I'm refusing. Guess what story you're teaching this Jewish boy to love? The story of Abraham and Isaac on the altar. And you people here, and even you, Mom, have taught me even on this altar, a voice could be heard, messengers could come that say, do not harm the boy. Do not do anything to him. And so you've brought me. I need all the help I can get. You've helped me in your own way to learn the truths of Buddhism, Judaism, and Christianity. Thank you for the spiritual education, you people here, and thank you, dear mother.